What's going on, guys? This is Rob. If you guys enjoy my content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell so you never miss out on my sexy voice. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and I have been pondering this for like the last couple days or so. I've been thinking about the aftermath to Infinity War, which, by the way, this will have spoilers, for some of the stuff in Infinity War. But I was thinking about the aftermath to Infinity War. And the number one question, at least with regards to the whole Black Panther thing that I've been thinking about is, are they going to make a new Black Panther? And if they do, who's the new Black Panther going to be? Because T'Challa's dead. He's gone. Like he died at the end of Infinity War. And so it's like, okay, if he's one of the many superheroes who died, someone has to be king or queen of Wakanda. Somebody has to run the country. And in his stead, who will take his place? Now, my first thought went to Shuri. Right? Like, there's Shuri and there's Okoye, but like my first thought went to Shuri because that's how it happened in the comics. For those of you guys who don't know, Shuri did become Black Panther at one point in time. And actually she was Black Panther right up until the incursions, the collapse of the multiverse, the start of Secret Wars, going into all new, all different Marvel. So this all played out in Black Panther Volume 5. And in fact, really like Shuri's desire to become Black Panther really kind of predates Black Panther Volume 5. It goes way back. I mean, ever since she was introduced. But the whole basis behind this was that Shuri always wanted to be Black Panther. She always wanted to have the mantle. The problem with this was that her brother was the rightful heir. He was the one that earned the title of Black Panther. And even when people like Eric Killmonger had defeated him and then took his place as the new Black Panther, he ultimately came back and won the mantle back. And so Shuri's desire to become the new Black Panther initially happened in, I want to say it was Volume 5 by Reginald Hudlin. And she ultimately didn't get it because she, what had happened in this story, it gets kind of weird because it's kind of easy to merge with Doom War. What had happened in that story, and really the first 6 issues of Volume 5, is that there was an attempt by Namor the Submariner, who was part of a group called the Cabal. And the Cabal was basically a group of forces led by Dr. Doom that would essentially attempt to like invade Wakanda or at least, exercise the goals of Dr. Doom. The result was that Black Panther turned it down and then he was attacked and essentially like knocked out, like left in a comatose state. Basically, he was absent from the throne. And so because he was absent, what had happened is Shuri had tried to take the throne of Black Panther, and she went through all the trials and succeeded in all of them because she's an exceedingly skilled combatant. She's really good at fighting. And so she had gone through like all the trials, and then once she took the heart-shaped herb, that allowed her to approach the Panther God or the Panther Goddess. And when the Panther Goddess looked on Shuri, she declined. So, the Panther Goddess basically said, you cannot be the new Black Panther because your heart's not pure. You're not doing this because Wakanda legitimately needs a leader. You're doing this because you've always wanted to be Black Panther. And so ultimately she was turned down. Eventually T'Challa came back. T'Challa, went back to being Black Panther. And then what had happened is there was an event called Doom War. And Doom War, maybe it was, I'm sorry, that's not correct. There was, maybe it was Doom. No, it was before Doom War. Something happened, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Something happened. Shuri had undertaken, like she had basically donned the Black Panther mantle in the first place. And then she ended up, going through the whole process. Like after she had undertaken the mantle, basically used like the costume of the Black Panther, fought off the forces, and then ultimately she went forward and approached like the Panther God again and was awarded the role of Black Panther. And so that goes into Doom War. And Doom War was a story where Dr. Doom invaded. Well, actually, he orchestrated a coup d'etat in Wakanda, basically like funding all these rebel insurgents. I want to say it was a Desturi, funding the rebel insurgents that allowed them to rise to prominence and then oust everybody who was there. Now, between the start of Doom War and the time that Shuri became Black Panther, there was Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, at least the first segment of it. And in Jonathan Hickman, in the beginning of the Fantastic Four story, towards the end of the Fantastic Four story, Black Panther had approached Reed Richards and said, I need your help for something. And Reed was like, okay, we've been friends for a very long time. I'll help you with, the best way I know how. And so Reed Richards needed to be a witness. And the reason why was because what T'Challa did is he went to the necropolis, the city of the dead, and approached the Panther God and said, I know I cannot become the new Black Panther. I want to become something else instead. And so what ended up happening is the Panther God tested the mettle of Black Panther and essentially saying like, you Reed Richards who stand before me right now, do you attest to this man's worth? And Reed said, yes, I would trust this man with my life. And so the Panther God turned Black Panther or turned T'Challa into the king of the dead. And so what that meant is he had all the same powers he had before, but Shuri also had all the Black Panther powers. She led Wakanda, and then Black Panther was more of like an advisor. And then that goes into Doom War. And what Doom War does is it brings in this idea that Dr. Doom had basically invaded Wakanda. He set in motion this coup d'etat while the whole Civil War was taking place, Black Panther and Shuri had taken off to go recruit like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, some of the Avengers, different things like that. Basically the whole superhero community based out of North America. While all that happened, Dr. Doom infiltrated Wakanda, managed to get the vibranium for himself, and then use it to amplify his magical energy. And so what happened is Black Panther ended up gathering all the Earth superheroes. They traveled to Latveria, where Dr. Doom was located, and then Dr. Doom, because he had godlike power with all the magical amplification that came from the vibranium, Black Panther rendered all vibranium across the world inert. He basically destroyed it all. No, I'm saying that's not. Doom War happened before he became King of the Dead. That's what it was, because there was a meeting between Reed Richards and Black Panther when they were talking, like when Reed Richards asked, what are you going to do now that you don't have vibranium? And Black Panther says, well, we used our wealth to buy up like a bunch of debt from countries. So we've got trillions and trillions of dollars. We're far from being broke. So that's right. So it was Black Panther who was comatose. Shuri became Black Panther shortly after that. And then there was Doom War, and then there was him becoming King of the Dead. So that's how that happened. But regardless, that's how Shuri became Black Panther. And she stayed that way up until the time when like Thanos and the Cabal invaded Earth, and then she died. When they basically invaded Wakanda and like destroyed the city. Like, well, maybe Necropolis was already destroyed because of Avengers versus X-Men, but it was when everything was popping off. So basically she died, and that was the end of her. Going into all new, all different Marvel, Black Panther got the mantle back, and then Shuri was kind of, free floating around. But nonetheless, that's how Shuri became Black Panther. A long-winded explanation for an otherwise relatively simple thing. But nonetheless, my initial thought went to Shuri because I was like, okay, she's been Black Panther in the comics. The problem is that in the comics, she was exceedingly good at fighting. In the movies, she's just really good at technology, but she hasn't shown any indication that she's been a very good fighter. With T'Challa, he was raised since birth to become a good fighter. So he's got decades of experience in hand-to-hand combat and weapons use and all that kind of good stuff, and how to use the various technologies of Wakanda at his disposal for offensive and defensive purposes. At the same time, Shuri doesn't have any of that in terms of combat training. She's just really good at tech. At the same time, what you also have is you have Okoye, and she's the general of the Dora Milaje, and she is fierce. She's actually one of my favorite characters from the movies. Oh, I love her character. Oh man, like she's awesome. Like to see her do her whole thing, she's amazing. I would say that she seems to stand as the most viable alternative for a new Black Panther. But historically speaking, aside from a couple instances here and there, for the most part, the Black Panther role seems to really be more of a monarch role, in the sense that it's passed down from generation to generation. Now, that does not mean that someone outside of the T'Challa family line can become Black Panther, as long as they can defeat the existing Black Panther, and as long as they can, consume the heart-shaped herb and not die, then like they can become Black Panthers. Such was the case with Eric Killmonger. The only reason why I say it seems to be more of a monarch line is because more often than not, when you look at the people who have been Black Panther throughout Marvel Comics, they have been by blood in some way associated with T'Challa himself. For example, T'Challa's uncle was the reigning Black Panther until T'Challa was old enough to undertake the role, and then he became Black Panther. So really, T'Challa's father was more of like a steward for Wakanda than anything else. But the fact remains, like that really seems to be the direction they go with in the comics. But the MCU has changed a lot of things. They've shifted up a lot of situations, especially with the nature of Shuri. Shuri especially has been changed. I like the idea that she's a tech geek. I like the idea that she's a walking meme factory because she's amazing. Like, I love the character of Shuri. But when I think about the whole Black Panther idea, there's a couple ways that they can go. So they could just give it to Okoye and just say, okay, cool, you're the new Black Panther, which would be awesome, and she's hardcore. And she plays the role that T'Challa's uncle did, where she's a steward for the throne until T'Challa comes back. Because of the way her character's been portrayed so far, I have a hard time believing that she would refuse to give up the role of Black Panther when T'Challa came back. She'd probably just hand it over and say, no, you're the rightful king, I will hand it over to you. But we also have seen a little bit of murkiness there. In the Black Panther movie, she basically made the argument, my job is to serve the existing throne. Like that's what I serve. I serve the throne. I serve whoever happens to be king. I don't serve T'Challa. And so there's the idea that like she's loyal to the throne. And the idea is like, with her simply saying like, I am the new Black Panther now, I'm going to stay this way. Like I'm not leaving, and you can't make me. No. That'd be kind of funny, with seeing that whole thing play out. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be pretty interesting. You could see what's his name from the Gorilla Clan make a play, see M'Baku make a play for the throne. That's entirely possible. I don't think he would because of the kind of bond that was shared between the two of them in Infinity War. There's obviously T'Challa and M'Baku have obviously gone from being like enemies to having a lot of respect and admiration for each other. And so, even then, like it seems they're more akin to like brothers in the sense that they're like, hey, look, we fought side by side, and M'Baku was like, I will fight you to the end, that kind of a situation. So I see, I don't really see him refusing to give it up, which means they might go with Shuri. And if they do, there's a couple ways to make that work. Just because Shuri is not a great hand-to-hand combatant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe does not mean that one, she can't be taught to be a great fighter, and two, she can't find ways to work around it. That's the cool thing is, we generally associate the Black Panther mythos with a warrior, a tried and true physical combat warrior who's good at fighting, who's good at weapons use, and who is really, really smart. But it could just be that because she's not a great fighter, she uses technology at her side. She's not the best fighter ever, but she's got all this technology at her disposal, like Iron Man. Tony Stark's not a good hand-to-hand combatant. You meet Tony Stark and you probably beat the crap out of him. He's just not that great of a fighter. But because of all the technology it has at his, he has at his disposal, he's a really effective superhero. I don't really see them going in the direction of Shuri getting her own Black Panther or her own Iron Man armor, although that would be awesome. That would be cool. What would that look like? Just to kind of hit that for a second, what would that look like if there was like a Black Panther Iron Man armor? How awesome would that be? I mean, okay, one, it would probably be made of vibranium. Two, I imagine Shuri would make it because that'd be the cool thing. Shuri gets her hand on Stark tech. That would be awesome. Because the whole Worldbreaker armor is in Wakanda. We know that because of how Infinity War ended. So I'm not Worldbreaker. The Hulkbuster is in Wakanda. We know that because of how Infinity War ended. So if Shuri were to be able to like reverse engineer Stark tech and then make like a Black Panther Iron Man armor, that would be insane. Okay, that's how you make it work. That's how you pull those. Okay, that's how you make that work. That's how you pull it together. So you have Shuri, who's basically like Wakanda's Tony Stark, but like she seems a whole lot smarter than he is, which I think is a really, or at least much better with technology. Their technology is way beyond what Tony Stark has, and so I like that idea. So you have Shuri, who reverse engineers the Hulkbuster suit because Iron Man's still on Titan as far as we're aware. So he's still out there by Saturn. So she reverse engineers the Hulkbuster armor and then uses that to create a Black Panther suit. And then she's crowned the new Black Panther because she's the sister of the existing Black Panther who's dead. And so it just falls down the monarchy line. So she has a Black Panther Iron Man suit. She dons it, teams up with Iron Man. I have no idea. But dude, that would be amazing. Like, okay, how cool? I mean, don't tell me that wouldn't be cool. You cannot tell me with a straight face that it wouldn't be awesome to see Shuri flying around in like a Black Panther Iron Man suit. And I'll be honest, I'm probably going to be like, I'm going to get some hate for this, and I don't really care. I feel like Shuri's Iron Man suit would be better than Tony Stark's. I feel like it would. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. What if the Endosim suit comes from Shuri? And that's the Black Panther armor. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, the Endosim suit, it was like up until the Bleeding Edge armor, which I think is the one that he uses in All New, All Different Marvel, up until that point, I would say that like the Endosim is the coolest suit of armor that Iron Man ever had. It was based on the symbiotes, like Venom, Carnage, that kind of thing. It was based on those symbiotes. And the idea was the suit would respond to his commands and travel to him no matter where he was. And he could create all kinds, like he had like an invisible visor on his face. So you could see his face, but you couldn't actually penetrate the suit. I don't think he could shapeshift in the suit, but he could do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then it was like all the standard powers that he has. It was a really versatile suit of armor. It was based on a combination of the Extremis tech and the Venom, the Venom symbiotes. And so because of that, I could see her creating more of like a fluid suit, not really based on the symbiote tech, because as far as we're aware, Venom doesn't exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the symbiotes don't exist. We've never seen them. But I could see her creating like an Iron Man suit that's more of like a fluid suit. It's more of like a liquid metal suit. And then of course it just like responds to her whims and wants and different things like that. Maybe the suit operates like she's like, like fighter. The suit just kind of moves on her behalf, in the sense that like, it can go forward and fight for her, or, it can allow her to move in ways, give her information, or I don't, there's any number of ways that they could do it, but like that would be awesome if we got like a liquid metal Iron Man suit, basically the Endosim suit from Shuri. That would be pretty sweet. Like, I would definitely dig that. Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like an awesome idea. Her becoming the new Black Panther, having her own, Iron Man-esque Black Panther suit, that would be pretty boss. Like, that'd be pretty awesome to see in Avengers 4. I don't know if we will. I mean, I figure like if we were ever going to see anything like that, it would be in Avengers 4, because there's no, like, I mean, as far as, looking at the movie, looking at what happened in Infinity War, and looking at the layout of the movie, I honestly don't see a lot of those superheroes coming back until like the end, when it's like, let the conflict end, and whoever it is, probably Carol Danvers, takes the gauntlet and like fixes everything. Either that or she gets the gauntlet, fixes everything, and then they fight Thanos, which, you know, Thanos is a lot weaker in the movies than he is in the comics, so I don't know how that fight would go. But still, I mean, I don't really see like Black Panther returning or any of those characters coming back until near the end of the movie or at the end of the movie. I think that's going to be the MCU's way of saying, like, everybody whose contract's up, you're not going to see them come back. They're going to stay dead because for whatever reason they didn't come back. And then everybody whose contracts are continuing on, they're going to continue, which means that Bucky Barnes will probably become Captain America, at least for a little while. Then they'll probably shift it over to Sam Wilson, which I think is a good idea. And then, you know, a few other people here and there in terms of, you know, moving things around. But still, you know, fun theories. I love doing these theory videos. That's one of the things people tend to forget. I think people get so swept up in whether or not something would actually happen, they don't stop to think about the fact that it's just fun to talk about whether it would happen or not, regardless of how ridiculous it seems. That's the fun part, is talking about this stuff, you know, coming up with these ideas and crazy theories and so on and so forth. That's the point of all this, is to just have fun with it all. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.